Hello, I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Well, June 1st was the official start of hurricane season. While there's no tropical activity right now, the prediction is for a very active season.
In fact, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has predicted double the average number of storms. That could possibly be a record. This week, TWILA's Neil Melancon takes a look at what this season has in store for us, even as some people have not recovered from the last hurricane.
Hurricane Ida was the last hurricane to strike Louisiana back in August of 2022, coming in only behind Katrina as the most damaging hurricane in Louisiana's history. Almost 2 years later, there's still signs of damage in parts of Louisiana, and the memories of that storm will likely last a lifetime.
The cane was flat. We had a lot of water, and we had no electricity for 21 days.
Mark Naquin owns a company that builds custom sugarcane equipment in Thibodaux. He depends on an electric scooter to get around his workshop, and the power outage affected him both personally and professionally.
We went 3 months without a landline telephone. Luckily, for some reason, a week later, we was able to get internet so the company could run. And we didn't do much welding because we didn't have power. We just did what we could do.
Now, the 2024 hurricane season could be the most active one yet.
These forecast numbers from NOAA, from Colorado State, and from other expert groups from around the country. And the one thing you see with these numbers is they are all way above normal. In fact, we're looking at probably something on the order of 24 or more named storms, and as many as a dozen of those becoming hurricanes. These numbers aren't just high, they're extraordinarily high. Some of the expert groups are using the term hyperactive or supercharged hurricane season. And with these high numbers, not only are they high, but for most of these groups, they're acknowledging that they've never issued forecast numbers this large, this high, before the season began. That's enough for everyone to sit up and take notice.
Jay Grimes says, unlike last year, the prevailing weather conditions will help hurricane formation.
Typically, we have fairly active and relatively strong upper-level westerlies, winds that are blowing from west to east at very high levels. But during La Nina, by changing the atmospheric structure, these westerlies weaken. They become a little less persistent. Now, these westerlies, these high-level winds are important because they increase the potential for vertical wind shear. Reduce that potential for vertical wind shear, and storms have a better opportunity to grow vertically, to intensify. So we not only have the potential for more storms to get organized because of a lack of vertical wind shear, but also those storms that do get organized have a better chance to become strong hurricanes or maybe even major hurricanes.
Rouge Parish escaped Ida's wrath 2 years ago, but bears the scars from other storms. Cane farmer Aaron Lee says even if the predictions don't come true, one storm can ruin a crop.
Really and truly, we can have one come through. We're in Louisiana. There's always a chance for a hurricane. So, we just do our job, and whenever we need to plan for one, that's when we take the initiative to do it.
And while the Gulf is quiet for now, it's never too early to prepare for hurricanes.
Things you got to do is sort of evaluate what is the threat to you and your family. Consider your property, the flood threat, the wind threat. But also, and this is something a lot of people don't spend a lot of time on, is think about what are the needs of the individuals in your family. Or do you have people that have special needs? Can you go a week or more without power and still everybody be comfortable enough that they can survive or function in their property?
Now, last year, due to a high-pressure system, Louisiana had no named storms hit us, but of course, that came with drought and record temperatures. Hurricane season runs now through November 30th. And guys, in addition to what you saw on the story, I had Jay talk a lot about that entire process of how we're transitioning from El Nino to La Nina and what that means and all of the details. And so we'll throw that up online so you guys can have a detailed look at what's affecting these oceanic temperatures and currents right now, but it doesn't look good for this year.
Well, I know that we didn't have a storm the last 2 years, but during that time, they've made some changes to how they're going to present forecasts. And didn't Jay talk about that a little bit as well?
He did, and I'll put that up online as well. But this year, NOAA's going to do a little bit different. Their models have gotten a little more certain. And so they're taking out some of the experimental lines, as well as putting hurricane effects on the map inland, as well as not just the coastal areas, but inland as well.
Well, hopefully that makes a difference and people will heed those warnings. Thank you very much, Neil Melancon.
Well, it doesn't have to be hurricane season for bad weather. In fact, flash flooding can occur at any time, like what's been happening in neighboring Texas. Every time it floods, someone inevitably gets stuck in their car or truck, swamped, and people even drown. In addition to being the state climatologist, Jay Grimes is also a meteorologist in Baton Rouge. He says despite giving warnings about the danger of flooding every time, fatalities still occur.
Turn around, don't drown is highlighting one of the principal ways that we lose people in flood situations. Drivers that go around barricades. Those barricades are there for a reason. The experts in your location, whether they be your municipality or your parish, they know that this area has a problem. That's why the barriers are up. It's not just a matter of inconvenience.
Persistent rains are making planting difficult for those last acres of soybeans and putting a damper on winter wheat harvest.
Let's check in with Nick Mikulas this week for the Farmer's Forecast. Nick?
Thank you all very much. It is crazy out there right now. You can see on this map here that while it's been raining in some spots and pretty much raining in all spots, the totals vary widely from not much in areas up along I-20 over the last 7 days as of this, and then down toward I-10 we have spots that have 3 or 4 inches of rain. So the totals are varying widely, and it looks like that's going to be the theme. You know, as we get into summer, this is when you get 2 inches of rain and 5 miles down the road they get nothing and just hear the thunder going on. So that's the last 7 days. Now the last 30 days we've kind of dropped off some of those real heavy events that we saw come through in April, but we do see that our normal range, we're still above that in most locations, except for down around New Orleans, down to Avoyelles Parish. It's a bit drier, but most of us, yes, we have seen that rain really wreaking some havoc around the area with that winter wheat harvest and then with the soybean planting. So a bit of good news for you now. It looks like once we get into next week, and I'll talk about this more in just a second, we are going to start to see those rain chances come back to normal. That's going to be that more isolated to scattered territory on the thunderstorms. But look at this. When you see blue on this map in June, this is a good thing. But as we head into mid-June, it looks like we're going to be around or just above normal, but that cooler air still settling in from the north. So much different than last summer already, as we've seen some consistent rains in the area. And then it looks like some temperatures could stay a little cooler, especially as you get into the northern half of Louisiana. And then precipitation, that looks like it's going to stay in check here. It doesn't look like we're going to be adding a ton to things once we get into the middle and end of this week and then into the weekend. There will still be rain, but it looks like it's going to become a bit more well-behaved than what we've seen here over the last week. Back to you.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is making it easier to connect farmers and ranchers to disaster aid resources. This is the new online emergency assistance for livestock, honeybees, and farm-raised fish program. The ELAP decision tool is a consolidated library of federal disaster assistance programs as well as farm loan reference resources. For farmers who have experienced disaster loss, this page provides information on how to get connected to assistance programs. While it's not an application page, it does show farmers how to understand eligibility as well as how to keep records in the wake of a disaster. We have a link to the tool posted on our website at twilatv.org. Well, 6 of Louisiana's largest ag groups sent a letter to the state's congressional delegation in support of the Farm, Food, and National Security Act of 2024.
That's the version of the farm bill that advanced out of the House Agriculture Committee following a 13-hour markup meeting. Louisiana Farm Bureau supports the measure, saying it is good for the state's farmers and ranchers and foresters as well.
Good morning.
You're looking at the first steps Congress is taking to get a new farm bill passed this year. The Farm, Food, and National Security Act of 2024, proposed by House Ag Committee Chair G.T. Thompson, is the first version of a new farm bill to advance out of committee and to its respective chamber. It's also the one at least 6 Louisiana agricultural organizations support: Louisiana Farm Bureau, American Sugarcane League, Louisiana Cattlemen's Association, Louisiana Cotton and Grain Association, Louisiana Forestry Association, and Louisiana Rice Producers Group sent this letter to members of the state's congressional delegation in support of the House version of the Farm Bill.
When you have the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader,
a lot of tenure throughout our delegation and the seats that they sit on within their committees. We don't have a member on the House Ag Committee, so we didn't have a lot of sway when it came to the markup last week. But where we do have a lot of influences are these next steps of coming to the floor, getting bipartisan support. And so, you know, it's rare that all of the ag groups in Louisiana put out something together, but that just shows the importance of getting this bill moving. And I was proud to see that all these groups have come together to do that with a unified Louisiana agriculture voice.
Louisiana Farm Bureau President Jim Harper says he signed on to the letter because of what's in the Farm, Food, and National Security Act.
The farm bill that passed out of the House Ag Committee is good for Louisiana. It increases the reference price for every major crop that we grow. It increases the loan rate for sugar, and it has a lot of good features that would really help Louisiana farmers and ranchers.
Well, our number one priority was increasing our safety net and bringing it up to speed. So the increases to reference prices are definitely the biggest and most exciting thing that came out of that bill. But it's really a lot of good things from top to bottom, from improvements to crop insurance, to disaster programs, to investments in research, you name it. A lot of Louisiana Farm Bureau priorities have made its way into that bill.
For consumers, the Farm Bill is important because it provides meals to people in need and ensures stable prices for household staples.
A lot of people are so far removed from that, or are so spoiled in that regard these days, that they don't necessarily recognize that even when, you know, they see that term food security as national security. It doesn't always resonate, but for those that do depend on SNAP, that resonates a little stronger, and that's why these things need to continue to be partnered together, food assistance and then farm assistance, to make sure that we have that national security for years to come.
No word yet on when the Farm Bill will come up for a vote before the full House. With federal elections on the horizon, it could be as late as September.
In a move to fight climate change, the FDA just approved the first cattle feed that claims to reduce methane emissions. Elanco Animal Health said the feds wrapped up a multi-year study of the powder they sell as Bovaer. Elanco says when fed to lactating dairy cows, it can reduce their methane by 30%. The company says dairy farmers can use carbon contracts to offset the cost of the ingredient, which is expected to be available later this year. Elanco, based out of Indiana, says the cost is, quote, a few cents per gallon of milk. Still to come on TWILA, crawfish ponds are drying up, but TWILA's Karl Wiggers takes us to a farm where they're still pulling in the traps.
Plus, I want to wake up in the city that never sleeps. To start seasoning some crawfish, we'll show you the surprising spot for this celebratory boil next.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
The Big Apple got a taste of Southern lifestyle. LSU alumni in New York put together this spread of boiled crawfish right in front of the Empire State Building. Organized by the local tiger-friendly Legends Bar, they set up tables to hold 750 pounds for a feast on West 33rd Street. The owners of Tigerland staples, The Revelry and Mike's, helped to prepare the crawfish and bring it to New York City as part of a reunion for former classmates. When you think of enjoying some crawfish in a backyard boil or maybe an étouffée, it can be easy to forget about all the hands that help put that goodness on your plate.
In this edition of How You Grow Louisiana, brought to you by First South Farm Credit, TWILA's Karl Wiggers takes us to Avoyelles Parish to meet a farmer who is still harvesting crawfish and shipping it across the South.
Workers are still pulling crawfish traps in Avoyelles Parish on Ben Deshotels' farm. Ben was raised on a farm just like this in nearby Point Capee Parish, where his father entered the crawfish industry in 1982.
He saw that there was an opportunity there to possibly make some extra money. So he started one pond and built a little bit of distribution in that area and was extremely successful with it.
Ben began farming with his father and brother in the 90s and has seen the industry grow tremendously.
We hit a certain point where our farm was producing so much crawfish and it was still expanding that my wife and I saw the opportunity to start processing our own crawfish. So 10 years ago, she and I built a processing plant, started taking all of the small crawfish that we couldn't sell in distribution companies and processing it, packaging it, and selling the tail meat.
It's a game of moving product and moving it every day.
6 years ago, Jared Politz and Deshotels together formed Rouge Crawfish Company to keep that product moving, reaching far beyond the traditional markets for crawfish.
Everywhere from South Texas, North Texas, Tennessee, Florida, keep pushing. And every year we have conversations to move it further and further. And it's been exciting to watch the demand over the last 10 years really change from what it used to be to every year more and more people are looking for live crawfish, looking for crawfish products like tail meat, and pushing into new markets.
When you can see a market constantly grow like that and expand, and people are always asking for more crawfish or asking, can we get crawfish here? Yeah, I mean, that's what we live for.
Politz says the competition of the market is what drives him every day, adding that it's good for the entire crawfish industry in Louisiana.
So for us, we knew you gotta, to help the state and to help all the crawfish farmers and everybody involved in the industry, you gotta push into new markets.
We could build more ponds and catch more crawfish. It was trying to distribute that and move that has always been the problem.
Another issue that could be a problem, labor. It takes a huge seasonal workforce to keep an operation like this running.
From fishing on the farm to processing at the plant to distribution, none of it would be possible. So it means everything. Without this labor, nothing exists.
Protecting that ability to bring in reliable labor is paramount to Deshotels, who is grateful for groups beyond his farm advocating on his behalf.
The Louisiana farmer is resilient. I have no worries whatsoever that this industry will be right back. We have other groups of people that help us out so much. Farm Bureau, for instance, understands our challenges and is always trying to help. We have great politicians that are constantly working, understand this industry, understand how important it is for Louisiana, and are pushing forward for us. We have great lenders like First South that understand how important it is for us to get financing to continue. So I think it takes all of that working together to make it successful.
And there's a reason why people, are pumped up about where this industry is going.
Because when you look back at those 50 years, it was so exciting and fun that everything the people before me did and everything that I've been involved in. And when I look to the future, I think the next 50 years can be every bit as exciting and fun as the last 50 years have been.
How You Grow Louisiana is brought to you by First South Farm Credit. First South is how you grow. So let's take a look at some crawfish prices around the state.
In Carl's neck of the woods, Winsboro, Louisiana, live crawfish are $3.25 a pound at Clark's Crawdad Hole. A pound of boiled crawfish will run you about $4.50.
In Avery's hometown of New Iberia, Rouse's Market on East Admiral Doyle has them live for $2.46 a pound and boiled for $3.39 a pound.
Now, there aren't many crawfish sellers in Kristen's hometown of Calhoun, but nearby in Monroe, you can stop by Randall's Captain Avery Seafood and Specialty Meats and get a pound of live crawfish for $2.50 and a pound of boiled for $4.50 a pound.
These crawfish prices are brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, which reminds you to always eat Louisiana crawfish and to make sure, ask before you eat.
Still to come on TWILA, as food insecurity in the state grows, so do the food bank's efforts to fight it. Josh Meeks takes us inside the operation.
Plus a recipe we are not endorsing, but if you need a quick meal on the go, in the cab of a tractor, at least one guy out there has a solution.
No, not endorsing.
Louisiana has one of the nation's highest food insecurity rates. We rank #1 in both childhood and senior citizen hunger.
The Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank has been working for years to dig the state out of that hole. As TWILA's Josh Meeks shows us, the food bank is working with local farmers to make that happen.
With Seeger cranked on the radio, these volunteers at the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank get to work. Sorting cans, boxes, and fresh produce like potatoes, these volunteers are an integral part in tackling a major problem in Louisiana.
With prices the way they are right now, people are coming back to us that didn't need assistance from us previously. They have gotten out of the line of needing assistance. Now they're coming back, and it's a function of the increasing food costs.
Food Bank President Mike Manning says their operation isn't centered just on donated cans from the grocery store. Here, in this back room at their warehouse, they're sorting, bagging, and distributing Louisiana rice.
But rice has been a staple for us from Louisiana farmers. We buy a lot from Supreme, and we buy palletized bags of rice because we have bulk packaging equipment, so we can package it into 1 or 2 pound bags. So it's really a great opportunity to bring Louisiana rice back to Louisiana people in need.
Operating even at half capacity, they can process 13,000 pounds of rice every single day, which gets sent out across the state. A federal grant ensures that partnership between the food bank and growers, but it's volunteers like Paul Fordich who make sure it's a smooth operation.
It's absolutely appealing to me. I'm a Christian, so I like to help people, and this way you can help a lot of people. Putting the stuff in boxes, distributing, whatever we do.
From middle schoolers to retirees, the sorting floor is always full of smiles. Everyone here enjoys helping out.
Yeah, they're really good. They love the job, and that's part of it. Plus, the people that come end up loving the job, too, after they see what we do here.
We're a part of the local community, so it's really important for us to support the local community. We try to buy as much as we can locally. We're working with some of the smaller farmers to try to develop relationships that we can purchase in advance and schedule things to help them have a successful growing season.
And it's not just the 11 parish area around the capital city. The Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank works with the program Feeding Louisiana to share resources with the 4 other food banks in the state. Now, they're always looking for volunteers to help as well as donations. And I can tell you personally, as I spent a lot of time in high school volunteering at this food bank, there are always great people over there to spend a day with, and it's really a fun time.
Well, Josh, does the food bank work with any national programs to help bring items in?
So they do. So there's food banks across the country, just like there are here. And what they'll do is they'll set up barters. So like recently they worked with Wisconsin. There's a food bank in Milwaukee, and we sent them a bunch of rice in exchange for something that they may have an overabundance. And so they'll work to kind of share resources literally across the country for anybody in need, because there's always hungry people everywhere.
Well, that's a great program. Great story, Josh Meeks.
Well, time now for this week's TWILA Boost, and we're looking at just how easy it can be to make ramen noodles while on the go working in a field.
Well, if you don't like ramen noodles or ramen noodles, however you say it, you'll probably think it's disgusting. And if you do like ramen noodles, well, the same might apply for you too.
When you're farming and ain't got nothing at home to make a sack lunch with, get a ramen, throw it in a bag, put your seasoning, dump some water on it, like yay. Shake it around some. Find a hot spot of your floorboard, toss her down there, let her sit for 15 minutes. Yeah, it's looking pretty done down here. Barely any water left. Now we're gonna cut the corner off the bag. Just like yay. Put a corner off. You squeeze your bag up like this and you got a ramen pushy pop. Disgustingly delicious.
So is this about how versatile ramen noodles are, or about how hot it can get in the cab of a tractor? Either way, I'm kind of like getting a queasy, uneasy feeling in my stomach at this point.
I don't know why it's bothering so many of y'all. It just looks like, it's not 5-star gourmet to begin with. So.
No, but why even bother putting the water in there? Just bite the thing, okay? Just bite it dry, eat it that way. That's what I would do.
Well, it is worth noting that this was on a page titled, "It's Not Stupid If It Works."
Okay.
So.
It works. It works.
Yes, it worked. Moving on, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll tell you to take you down to the coast for the annual Louisiana Farm Bureau Fishing Rodeo. It's a great event that raises money for the Louisiana Farm Bureau Foundation and the Ag in the Classroom Foundation.
And the fish will taste better than ramen. Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe, turn on those notifications. That way you know when we put something new out there.
For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.